Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We appreciate your participation today. We have a novel narrative to present to you. Let us commence. My name is David, and for an extended period, I believed I possessed an ideal love narrative. I assumed I had discovered the woman with whom I would spend the remainder of my life, Jennifer. I perceived her not merely as my girlfriend but as my future. From our initial encounter, I sensed that everything was aligning perfectly. We encountered each other at the nuptials of a shared acquaintance. I supported the groom, while she assisted the bride. One moment, I was reveling in the wedding festivities, and the next, I found myself engaged in discussion with the most exquisite woman present. By the conclusion of the evening, we had exchanged contact information, marking the inception of everything. Initially, the situation was informal. A handful of texts scattered throughout. Subsequently, it evolved into a quotidian occurrence. Morning messages, late-night communications, and brief updates during the day. Before I realized it, Jennifer had integrated into my everyday routine. It appeared instinctive and effortless. At last, I inquired if she would be my girlfriend. I recall her playful demeanor, her tendency to make me wait, and her feigned uncertainty. At that moment, I perceived her as merely exercising caution, perhaps treating the matter with gravity. I perceived that hesitation as maturity and deliberation. In retrospect, I question whether I should have recognized it for its true nature. However, at that time, I did not question anything. I provided her with my time, affection, and support. If she required assistance, I was present. If she encountered an issue, I exerted all efforts to resolve it. If she desired something, I ensured she get it. I presented her to my family, and they embraced her unconditionally. My parents regarded her as a daughter. My siblings adored her. She was always welcome in my residence. I developed a tight relationship not only with my family but also with hers. My affection for Jennifer extended to others she valued. If her parents required assistance, I was present. I ensured her siblings received anything they required. I was not merely dating her, I was investing in our relationship and our future. I believed it was merely a question of time before I proposed formally. From the outset, my buddies were not particularly fond of Jennifer. Although they did not explicitly express it initially, I discerned their skepticism. It was not merely one or two, it encompassed all of them. They perceived her as too wild, unpredictable, and, in their opinion, overly formidable for someone of my disposition. I am the reserved and consistent type. However, Jennifer. She was boisterous, exuberant, and consistently the focal point of attention. My pals lacked trust in that. They asserted that she was a benevolent individual who needed turmoil to maintain her engagement, whereas I was not suited for disorder. They were unequivocal in their warnings as well. They would assert that she is exploiting you, shaking their heads in disapproval. You are behaving foolishly for her. Whenever we gathered, someone invariably mentioned her, and it was never in a favorable context. They asserted that I was oblivious, allowing her to manipulate me effortlessly, yet I remained unresponsive to their counsel. I would simply grin and inform them of their error. You lack my familiarity with her, I would assert, dismissing their apprehensions. I persuaded myself that their behavior was merely protective, perhaps stemming from their discomfort with my deep investment in another individual. In my view, Jennifer did not conform to their perceptions of her. I thought she was unique. She was not a self-serving, manipulative individual out to exploit me. She was the most significant occurrence in my life. Life does not consistently bestow favorable circumstances, yet, when it occurs, one must cherish them, correct? That is what I affirmed to myself. I conveyed that to my friends. I had faith in love and in her. In addition to my buddies, another individual who attempted to reason with me was Stephanie. Stephanie and I developed a friendship during my relationship with Jennifer. Initially, she was merely Jennifer's acquaintance, but over time, we developed a strong rapport. She was approachable, candid, and possessed a forthrightness that instilled trust. Consequently, I was unprepared for her subsequent remark. She paused briefly before informing me that Jennifer had been unfaithful. Not a singular error, nor a fleeting lapse in judgment. No, it had been occurring for an extended period. She informed me that she had addressed Jennifer numerous times, imploring her to cease, but Jennifer remained indifferent. On the contrary, she had merely become more audacious in her approach. Stephanie declared that she could no longer remain silent. She believed I was entitled to the information. I gazed at her. Infidelity? Jennifer? It was illogical. We performed admirably. I provided for her, cherished her, and ensured she wanted for nothing. I presented her to my family, and they cherished her. I maintained a close relationship with her family, assisting them whenever they required assistance. Jennifer possessed no justification for her betrayal. There is no justification whatsoever. I emitted a subdued laugh, shaking my head. This is a jest, correct? I inquired, anticipating that she would abandon her facade and reveal that it was really a foolish assessment of my trust in Jennifer. However, she did not laugh. She did not retract it. She groaned and informed me that she would not have spoken if she were not certain. Nevertheless, I remained unconvinced. This must have been a misunderstanding. I sought any rationale that was more plausible than the notion that Jennifer, the woman I intended to marry, was covertly betraying me. One evening, I returned home from work, fatigued after a lengthy day. My office was disorganized, and upon entering my home, all I desired was to eat, bathe, and perhaps engage in some trivial viewing till I succumbed to sleep. However, before I could remove my shoes, my phone rang. It was Stephanie. Once more. I gazed at the screen, contemplating whether to answer. Upon answering, Stephanie's voice emerged with an agitated tone. David, if you doubt my previous statement, proceed to Jennifer's residence immediately. Refrain from informing her of your arrival. Proceed. I seated myself, massaging my forehead. Stephanie, I am fatigued. What precisely are you attempting to accomplish? Proceed. Her tone was incisive, nearly frantic. I am not engaging in jest with you. If you have even a modicum of trust in me, please proceed. She exhibited gravitas. Nevertheless, a portion of me opposed. What if I arrived and found Jennifer alone at home, attending to her own affairs? What if I appeared foolish for questioning her? Moreover, what if Jennifer discovered that Stephanie was influencing my thoughts and became incensed with me for acquiescing? However, an alternative notion intruded, one I could not dismiss. What if Stephanie were correct? I inhaled deeply and rose from the couch. Acceptable. I would attend. Not due to my belief in Stephanie, but rather to demonstrate her fallacy. This would allow me to conclusively address the situation and request that she cease her interference in my relationship. I changed from my work attire into more comfortable clothing, retrieved my keys, and exited my apartment, securing the door behind me. I arrived at Jennifer's place and parked outside. I exited the vehicle and approached her door, which was, naturally, locked. However, I possessed a spare key, as I was her partner, correct? Inserting the key into the lock, I paused momentarily, then cautiously opened the door and entered silently. I shut the door and traversed the living room. All appeared identical. Subsequently, my gaze discerned an object. A man's clothing was wrinkled on the floor. A pair of jeans discarded on the couch. Adjacent to them lies Jennifer's dress. My respiration became more labored. I retrieved my phone from my pocket and activated the recording function. If this was indeed what I suspected, I required evidence. Jennifer was ensnared in the covers, her bare back shone. A man, tall and rugged, loomed over her, larger than I, with his hands clasped around her waist as her arms encircled his neck. They were so engrossed in their own realm that they failed to notice my presence. I ought to have shouted, yet I only recorded. I remained stationary, observing, devoid of sensation. Upon reaching my limit, I ceased filming, stowed my phone, and subsequently cleared my throat. The response was immediate. Jennifer inhaled sharply, frantically reaching for the sheets, her eyes filled with terror. The man rotated his head gradually, his countenance devoid of emotion. He appeared innocent. He was merely astonished that he failed to perceive someone's presence there. I was rendered mute, yet, upon regaining my voice, I posed a singular query. What is the reason? Jennifer exhibited hesitation. Her lips parted as if she were about to fabricate a falsehood. However, a transformation occurred. She raised her chin, her voice unwavering. I apologize, David, but I required a genuine man. You possess talent, however exhibit excessive gentleness. I resonated profoundly with their words. Nevertheless, I refrained from reacting, merely smiled. I averted my gaze, approached her purse, and extended my hand within. I retrieved my extra house key and, without further comment, exited. I anticipated solace from my pals, nevertheless, upon disclosing my recent experience, they did not hesitate. They erupted in laughter, as if I had just delivered the most humorous joke of the year. I remained seated, observing them, anticipating the cessation of laughter, hoping someone would remark, "That is unfortunate. You were undeserving of that treatment." However, that never materialized. Instead, one of them struck my shoulder, continuing to chuckle. "She is correct, my friend. You were foolish for her." Another individual nodded, smirking. "You elevated her to queen, however she desired a king, not a subordinate." I blinked, attempting to comprehend what I was hearing. They were not providing me any solace. They concurred with her, asserting that although I had been betrayed, it was my fault and that I deserved it. They were correct. They cautioned me, yet I pursued an aspiration. I could not hold them accountable for their severity. I refrained from engaging in any argument. What was the purpose? Ultimately, I rose and departed. I returned home, secured my door, and seized the first bottle available. Initially, I merely sought to alleviate my discomfort. A few sips to dull the ideas racing through my mind. However, one drink transformed into two. Two became 5. Before I realized it, I was seated with a bottle in hand, engulfed in a torrent of alcohol and self-contempt. With each beverage, wrath intensified. She desired to engage in unscrupulous tactics. I would demonstrate to her the sensation of vulnerability. I picked up my phone, its screen illuminating with unread messages, however I had no interest in them. I navigated to my gallery and, without hesitation, accessed each group chat we shared. I have uploaded the video. Subsequently, I composed a message. Exercise caution in selecting whom to entrust with your affections. Some individuals will use you and yet assert that you are insufficient. I dispatched the message. My phone began vibrating almost immediately. Initially, a single notification. Subsequently, another. A deluge of calls, messages, and voice notes inundated simultaneously. Familiar names, individuals I had not conversed with in months, including several of Jennifer's intimate acquaintances. All of them were witnessing it. I allowed it to resonate completely. I was disinterested in their discourse. The task was completed. I consumed one more gulp, allowing the alcohol to sear its passage down my throat, then placed the bottle beside me. My head felt increasingly weighty, my body subsiding into the couch. The sound of my phone vibrating transformed into inconsequential background noise. My vision became obscured, my respiration diminished, and before I comprehended the situation, all went black. The subsequent morning was particularly tranquil. Upon examining my phone, the situation was markedly different. 32 missed calls. Jennifer. Her acquaintances. Several mutual acquaintances. The messages inundated my screen, as if attempting to reverse everything by relentless insistence. Several individuals were incensed. I was subjected to incessant verbal abuse and insulted with every derogatory term imaginable. Others adopted an alternative strategy, attempting to induce feelings of shame in me. Exhibit magnanimity, my friend. You are capable of more than this. Subsequently, there were many in desperation, imploring me to remove the post, as if the veracity were only acceptable when concealed in obscurity. Jennifer's voice notes were exceedingly lamentable. Initially, she was enraged. David, you have irrevocably altered the course of my life due to a singular incident. You are unwell, my friend. However, as she continued to speak, her fury gradually diminished. Desperation ensued. She wept. She implored. She held me accountable. You are exacerbating the situation unnecessarily. For whom is it worst, Jennifer? Subsequently, legal threats ensued. Or at the very least, an endeavor towards them. One of her acquaintances attempted to appear intelligent by referring to it as vengeance porn. It was not. Prohibition of nudity. No graphic imagery. Irrefutable evidence of her actions. Evidence she never anticipated would be revealed. If revealing the truth rendered me the antagonist, I accepted that. I had been a fool for an excessive duration. I undertook the sole remaining course of action. Is Jennifer present? Obstructed. Her acquaintances? Impeded. Is anyone still attempting to justify her actions? Impeded. I perused the group discussions one final time, seeing the reactions as they developed. Certain individuals were astonished. Some behaved as though they had always been aware. A few individuals laughed. What about me? I remained there, consuming my beverage, experiencing a sense of buoyancy I had not felt in years. Would you have acted similarly? I am indifferent. However, one thing is certain, Jennifer. She is permanently absent from my life. To all observers and commentators, regardless of whether you believe my actions were excessive or insufficient, please share your thoughts. Label myself a simp. Label me as trivial. Address me in any manner that enhances your comfort. I have transcended the threshold of concern. If you are aware of someone who requires this information, please share it. Perhaps they will acquire knowledge before it is too late.